family, he just didn't think. But I couldn't speak out against Mr. Crandon. He was a successful businessman, well thought of in St. Joe, and we were strangers, orphans brought here from New York in the hope that some kind-hearted people would offer us homes. There was nothing I could do. I thought about U.S. Army Captain Joshua Taylor, whom we had met on the Orphan Train. He had liked Mike. He'd praised Mike for his bravery. Oh, why couldn't someone as fine as the captain have offered Mike a home? My heart ached as I saw Mike chosen by the Friedrichs. Mr. Friedrichs seemed harsh and humorless, and I suspected that his only reason for adopting an Orphan Train child was to have an unpaid hired hand. I hugged Mike tightly as we parted, hating to let him go, terrified of what might be in store for him. Chapter 2. Michael Patrick Kelly sat by himself in the wagon bed behind the Friedrich family, grabbing the side for support each time the wheels dropped in and out of the ruts and gullies in the dirt road. The first time the wagon lurched, Mike sprawled on his back with a yelp, and Gunter Friedrich, squeezed on the front seat between his parents, turned to look at him with a mocking laugh. Mike hated to be the laughingstock, and he was beginning to dislike Gunter heartily. The next time the wagon bounced so hard that it slapped his backside, Mike met Gunter's stare by puffing out his cheeks and arching his back so that his stomach protruded. Gunter's eyes narrowed, and he whirled around to face forward. Mike settled back, hoping he wouldn't be bothered by Gunter again on this trip. He had wished for a loving family, and, even though no one would ever replace his best friend and brother Danny, he'd imagined there'd be a boy close to his age who'd become his chum. Mike sighed. No such luck with Gunter. The Friedrichs were not the kind of family Mike had pictured when Mr. McNair and Mrs. Banks had described the new lives the Orphan Train children would lead in the West. Hans Friedrich was balding and heavy. Mike shuddered as he remembered his first sight of Mr. Friedrich, his rounded stomach bulging from underneath his vest, his jowls quivering. He pointed at Mike and demanded of Andrew McNair, the scout who found towns that would take the children, "That boy, we want him." Mrs. Friedrich's head bobbed up and down eagerly. Her nose was like a round button in her rosy face, and her eyes were clear and blue, crinkled at the edges by her shy smile. But she flinched as her husband growled at her, "It's your fault we are late, Irma. Because of you, we missed getting a bigger, stronger boy. This boy is only what, 9, 10? 11, Mike said, insulted at the guess and earnestly wishing he weren't so small for his age. Mrs. Friedrich tugged her shawl more tightly around her shoulders and stammered, "This boy needs only some good food to make him grow tall and strong. Why, in no time he'll be like Gunter." She patted her son's arm, but Gunter shook her hand away. Mike glanced at Gunter. He knew immediately that he had no desire to be anything at all like Gunter, who was fat and pasty, with hair so blonde it was almost white. Gunter's expression was sullen. Mike wondered if he ever smiled. His thick lips were twisted into a pout. At the mention of his name, he scowled at the floor, kicking at an invisible spot with the toe of one shoe. Obviously trying to make amends, Mrs. Friedrich smiled and said, "How fine it will be to have another boy in the house. He will be like a brother to you, Gunter." "Don't want any brother," Gunter mumbled. "Brothers only cause trouble." Now, Mrs. Friedrich smiled nervously. "Soon the two of you will be the best of friends." "No, we won't," Gunter hissed, his voice so low that Mike wondered if he were the only one who had heard him. As soon as Andrew left Mike and the Friedrichs to get acquainted, Mr. Friedrich folded his arms across his chest, frowned at Mike, and said in a stern, loud voice, "So, you were a pickpocket, a thief." Mike cringed as people nearby turned to stare at him. "Well, yes, I was, but I promised my mother and myself that I would never steal again," he replied. "I hope you'll believe me." "I believe you," Mr. Friedrich answered, "because if you steal again, you'll be beaten. You won't like the beatings, so you won't steal." The corners of his mouth tilted upward smugly. "I know how to handle boys like you." "Oh," Mrs. Friedrich gasped. As she shot a quick glance at her husband, Mike noticed a fearful look in her eyes. Gunter snickered and grinned a wicked